There is no clear plan. There is no coherent strategy. That's not my opinion. That's the words of the acting police commissioner, the acting minister of police, rather, Firoz Kachalo, who's been in the city for the last week. Is in fact, we scheduled him, or at least tried to get him on air with us today, but because of commitments of meeting city and provincial leaders, unable to provide some time for us. But that was generally the response of Firoz Kachalia at community meetings, that police resources are stretched, that the intelligence-driven capabilities of police are incomplete or they're underdeveloped. He said that gangs operate like well-financed, organized businesses that are leaving communities exposed. But very often what officials say is, well, it's up to the community to speak out. It's up to the community to raise their voices, because it's not police work alone that can develop an action plan. But what if you do speak out? What if you do make yourself vulnerable? What if you do say, I am going to testify in court when I see something? Because in March 2019, in Manenberg, activist Rushanda Pasco had been moved from a place of safety early in that day when unknown gunmen opened fire on her home in Manenberg. Of course, it terrorized her family who were inside, including her grandchildren. For the last while, Rushanda has been moving from safe house to safe house under witness protection, provided for by the National Prosecuting Authority. But once she was taken off witness protection, she was forced to move back to Manenberg, where she was once again a target. I have had a ongoing conversation with Rushanda, but Rushanda went quiet about 18 months ago. I haven't heard of Rushanda. And then earlier this week, Rushanda appeared on my WhatsApp to say, hello, Lester, I'm still alive. And I was very grateful and happy that she was still alive. But she's not in South Africa anymore. She has had to flee because there is no protection for the Cape Townians and the South Africans who say, I want to make my voice heard. I want to testify in court. And she joins me now from an undisclosed location somewhere in the world where she has taken up asylum. Good morning, Rushanda Pasco. I hope you are well. You don't have to detail where you are. I prefer that you don't. But why is it that you've decided to move away from South Africa to seek safety elsewhere? Good morning.
Good morning, Lester and the listeners. So great to have this conversation. I think for once, at the time I didn't have the money to get out of the country, and it was said that people out of the country that I've worked with have come together and said, we're not prepared to let you die because while you are a voice for us when crisis hit South Africa and especially Cape Town when it comes to crime and violence, and they paid the ticket for me to leave the country. So in that regard, I am grateful to them, because wasn't it for them, things could have been different, because I had to face isolation. And that is part of a strategy to silence you.
Yeah.
Life was not the same for me. Nobody wanted to speak to me. No family wanted to come to the house because of my presence there. And it has put my children and grandkids in a space where, your form of guilt gets up to you, where I felt that I wouldn't want them to get hurt for the how many years time, because remember my daughter was shot in 2013 because of me and because of my presence.
You are alone in this country where you have sought asylum, but your children and your grandchildren still here in Cape Town.
I'm alone. My children and grandchildren are still in Cape Town, very vulnerable on their own alone, because remember the state, they don't care. They don't care what happens to your family. They don't care what happens afterwards with you. You have to take care of yourself and your own safety afterwards. The moment your testimony is done, they are over with you. Somebody mentioned to me a month or two ago, yes, but the threat is not so great on your life again. To me, people that do not know how gangs operate would make a statement like that.
Talk to me why you initially went into witness protection. Remind us what was the case and what was it like being in witness protection? How did the NPA handle your particular case? Originally from Manenberg, a very, very vocal anti-crime activist, but while you were in witness protection, dotted around Cape Town in safe houses until the case was over, and then the NPA says, well, that's it. We don't need you anymore. You have to go back home.
So one of the processes before the case started initially, threats already started to come. On the night I had to go and do identification at the police station. Within a few seconds, the whole community knew Rushanda was a state witness and that she's going to testify. Then red flags went down for me because it means as much as security was there, as much as they cleared the police station and all of it, nothing can be trusted. I remember the prosecutor saying, you cannot trust anything, not even a phone wire can be trusted because why? News go out. The day before I testified, so there was another state witness that took the bribe from the gang. She didn't step up and she withdrew from testifying. So the case relied on my testimony. A community member warned me that they're going to kill you tonight, pushing a note in my hand warning me. I asked the children. By then I was doing consultancy for Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. I've shared with them, this is the situation. And with them, we have put up a safety plan together for myself because the state in itself, they can only act when something have transpired that can prove your life is under threat.
So there has to have been an active attempt on your life. There needs to have been a bullet through your window before the state says, okay, there is now a credible threat, now we will act.
There we go. That is how the process went. So I went into safety on the night before. I had to testify, and that the note was not off. The execution started that night. I was in a hotel, and whilst I was there, they shot at the house. My son walked onto the gunman. He was checking if the doors and the windows is closed, and as he came to check, he found this guy attempting to open the door of the main house. And then the guy turned around and started shooting at him. Oh. It was the most romantic few seconds or moments, you can say, because as his wife was calling me, I could hear the gunshots ring out, my grandkids screaming for help and so forth. At that current moment, as much as I had the prosecutor's number, I had the investigating officer's number, nobody picked up until 5 the next morning.
Yeah, wow. Rushanda, so you personally understand. You, of course, took the decision. You're not going to remain silent. You will expose yourself by testifying in court against a gangster. But you also understand why people decide not to, whether it be for safety or, as you have intimated, even taking a bribe.
Yes. That is the reality. I understand both parts. Even after the shooting transpired at my house, the pile of forms that you have to fill in to request safety that process in itself is no guarantee that, because the NPA still have to approve that there is merit for you to go on under protection of the state. So in my case, I was lucky that I was working with the Global Initiative at that time, and they financially sponsored my safety.
Okay. Firoz Kachalia says there's no clear plan. The police minister says there's no coherent strategy. As someone who has a deep activism in anti-crime forums, but also has worked with civil society like GTOC, what should the plan be? You come from the streets. Your family still lives in Manabo. What should the plan be?
Lester, there's no two other ways. It has been a decade, and I must commend the MP Derelin for a request of a state of emergency. But it cannot just be for the Western Cape. We cannot isolate the crime and violence across South Africa. South Africa is facing the worst time of its life. There is only three things that can happen, and this is what I've stretched out to many, because our people are beyond, mental stability. Referendum that moved us to a vote of no confidence, because it has been decades that this fight has been going on. Myself, we have given even positive strategies of what needs to be done, and the state in itself just declined it. They threw the statements and proposals away of us. I think the other thing for me is we should not even be at the High Court or Supreme Court. We must go straight to the Constitutional Court, because why the violation of human rights has really taken its toll on our people there. Everything is violated. People are being killed in their homes. Babies are being killed in their homes. Babies. I mean, I'm monitoring, and I'm seeing some people still reach out to me and ask me, Sandra, how can we address this issue? And it's simple. After all the talk, action must be taken, and people need to be accountable.
Shanda, just my last question. You are currently where you are, out of your safety, not in South Africa. A messenger says, I feel for however a parent doesn't leave her kids to face danger alone. I will die for my kids and grandkids. You mentioned your feeling of guilt of having to leave your family, but you also say this is for the safety of your family. At what point when things change, or do you say, okay, I want to return back home?
I'm at the point, just to speak to the listener, the hardest decision a mother could ever make. But if I think back at mothers that as I've seen on the video of that mother that prayed over a dead child, my youngest daughter said, rather have a living mother far away than a dead mother here at home, because I wouldn't be able to handle that.
Well,
and I would say, I pray to come back. I pray to come back. I pray to return. And my children and myself are working tirelessly to get that opportunity to for me to return home. But just yesterday afternoon, my daughter phoned me. She said, those people you testified against, one of them went to your mother and told your mother, we don't care about you and we don't care about your children, but we will definitely kill your daughter.
Rushanda Pasco, really appreciate your time. I'm glad you are safe where you are, not in South Africa. Stay in touch. Want to continue this conversation with you. It is the result of whistleblowers. When they speak out, when they go and testify, they're forced to flee this country. Rushanda Pasco, thanks so much for joining us.